Hey there, I'm Discon Games, a game developer who has been doing YouTube for a little bit. And I'd like to show you how to make a calculator in Visual Studio Code. So without further ado, let's get going. So, now that we're in Visual Studio Code, which I assume that you've already downloaded, you are going to need to go to Extensions and download the C# base language support. And now that you've done that, you need to go up to your Explorer and go to right here and hit Run. Actually, hit Terminal and hit New Terminal. And now type in .NET New Console. But before you can even hit Enter, you are going to need to download .NET, which the link will be in the description. And so after we do this, we can now hit .NET New Console. And now that we've done that now, we can look at our program. And see, it says console.writeLine hello world. And we're not done setting up yet. But we can easily do this by going to .NET Generate Assets for Build and Debug. And so you click this, and now everything should mostly be working now. But now you have to go down to the launch.json over here that was added to your project and go down to console. And here you're going to have to replace this thing that is inside the console parameter and call it external terminal. So when you run your project, you'll be able to see it in a terminal. So let's hit console.read key to test it out. And now let's see if this works. So go up to Run and hit Start Debugging. And so you may notice that it pops up with a black screen. And this screen will probably print Hello World. Now if you press any button, that terminal thing will close. And so, let's get on to making our calculator. So, now that we have everything all set up, let's go ahead and start writing out all the code. So what we're first going to have to write is, what operation do you want to use? It doesn't necessarily matter how you say what's in here, but what really matters is what's in console.writeLine, telling the console to write this text. So this is actually a lot of what we're going to be doing today. So our next line will be console.writeLine, and then we're going to be saying what X stands for. For a brief explanation of what a string does, it's just a group of words, kind of like what's in here. And so it'll read what the console or what the user has put in. So now that we have that, we can say if input equals X. Remember to put these in quotation marks. If input equals X. Remember to always do that because otherwise it won't work. And it will just come up with a weird error and you'll be really mad. Copy that one down 4 times. If input equals D. If input equals A or subtraction. Now let's start with X. If input equals X, we're going to write another console write line multiply. Now that we've written down console.writeLine, it'll ask what do you want to multiply, and we need a way to ask what the player has input. So we can make another string and call it input first number equals console.readLine. And now we can use this string and save it for later. Now we're going to write console.writeLine. And put the multiplication symbol in there. And then we're also going to have to read another line from the user. So we can basically just copy paste the thing that we had up here. But instead of calling it input first number, since we already have one of those, we need to change this to the second number. And you might see this little squiggly line, and that just means that we haven't used it, or that the thing is confused about it. But don't worry about it for now. So now that we have that, we can now take in console.writeLine input first number times input second number. And now you might be like, it's popping up with an error for me. You must not be able to code. Actually, I can. And what we have to do is put these little quotation marks. But even this still won't work. If you run it now, it'll just pop up with input first number times input second number. It'll pop up with those words. So we're going to need to put a $sign and put these little brackets around our text. This isn't actually text. This will just say what the answer is. And this is just saying that it needs to do this. And you might also be like, okay, it's not working. Well, we're also going to need to add an integer. 2 integers actually, but we can just write one and then copy paste. So we're gonna call this one second number I. And try to keep all your naming consistent in second number I. And you'll notice that this is an integer, meaning that it will be a number instead of a string. So it's going to equal 30. You're going to have to type it in 32 second number. So we're going to use int 32 dot parts input second number. This will translate this string into an integer and make that integer equal the string. So now we can just copy paste this right here. And you might notice that it says second number I is an error, which it is currently. So then we change this to first number I, and we're also going to have to try changing this to input first number. And now that this doesn't work, it'll also have to be input first number times input. Oopsie, my bad. It says it's supposed to be first number I. And then we're also gonna have to use second number I. So if you were to run this now and then up here to click X, it'll ask you which operations you want to use, and it'll actually tell you the result. So now we're actually going to have to just basically copy paste this whole thing and change it to fit our needs. So we copy it down to D, so division. What do you want to multiply? String console.readline. We have all this, except we're going to do divided by. And change this to division. We're going to do the same thing up here. What do you want to divide? Now, something that I haven't been doing is taking notes, which you can take a note by hitting // and this won't actually do anything in the code, it's just a note for me to look at. And now we're doing addition, so we're going to change multiply to addition plus. And then we're also going to hit plus. I like to put plus equals because that's what I'm used to. In Unity, you do that, so it's weird for me to not. But you don't need the equals. And now we're in subtraction. What do you want to subtract? Console.writeLine first number. And now this should work, but you might notice you might really want it to repeat, so that way you can just keep on doing all your math problems. Well, that's really simple to do, and we can just say console.writeLine do you want to continue? And then we can also put y/n to give the user some options. Now we can do console. Actually, we can do string input2 equals console.readline. Now we can ask if input2 equals y, then repeat. And now it might get really mad at you for trying to do this. And you might notice this is an error. Well, come up to the very top of your code and hit void repeat. And then make these little brackets. And take one away and drag it all the way to the bottom. Remember that we also need equals y, so that way the code doesn't hate us. It doesn't work, and that is partially my fault. We have to put repeat at the very bottom, because when we put that void there, it was saying that's like a variable, and it's saving this whole thing as one action. So for us to call upon this action, we need to just declare it. It's really simple. Thanks for watching. I hope you really enjoyed this video, and I had a lot of fun making it. If you want to see more game dev content like my game that I'm making, remember to like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.